All right, and welcome back. Continuing to put the tail cone together. As you can see, I'm now working on the left side skin for the tail cone, getting all the preparations done and getting ready to start riveting. Now, once you've seen one skin put on, you've seen the rest of them. It's the same process, obviously, paying attention to the diagram as far as which rivets go where as far as size. The majority of these are the 3-3.5s, and where it meets up with the frame, a lot of those, or some of those, are the 3-4s. But you just make sure you're looking at the diagram as you're going. Double check every once in a while to make sure that you're doing it correctly. But the majority of these, like I said, are going to be the 3-3.5s. Now, one of the things you want to consider as you're riveting, and when I put this in, I actually went a little further than I should have, but the bottom skin that's on there currently only goes to about where that most aft bulkhead frame is sticking up there, with the basically the two prongs are sitting up. That's where the horizontal stabilizer is going to attach to at some point. But on the bottom skin, that's about where it ends, and there's another bottom skin, the aft bottom skin piece, that goes in afterwards. And depending if you're doing the tricycle gear versus the tail dragger, you'll shape that bottom skin, the aft bottom skin, differently. I'm doing the tricycle gear, so it wasn't a whole lot that I had to do to it, but it's shaped, and it's, you know, the edges are rounded, and it comes to a relative point to match the shape of the tail cone. And so you have to wedge it. It goes above the bottom skin that I already have in there, the forward lip of it, but also the sides that curve up go underneath the side skins. And so you end up having to wedge it in, and really, because of how far I riveted back on the side skins, I had to really wedge it in, and it was a pain. So where I have those clecos in right now, the most forward clecos there, I would not rivet any further back if I was to do this again until I got that aft bottom skin put in place. It would have made it a whole lot easier to be able to pull the skins apart and slide that piece in, but because I riveted further back, I really had to wedge it in there. So now, going forward a couple days, again, my dad's out watching, see where I'm at in the project. He likes to come out and check in on it and see what I'm currently working on. Right now I'm working on the nylon plates, I guess, that act as the cable guides for the rudder cables. There's two nylon pieces per side, and you countersink the holes on the inside, on the skin side of those nylon pieces, to fit over the flush mounted dimples, and then you use blind rivets to hold them in place. Now, I had an issue where the blind rivets actually pulled a little too far into the nylon, but I think it'll be okay. They're not a stress point. It's just cable going through there, and it's just a guideway for the cable, so it has something, you know, a soft material to rub against, basically, and won't create any issues there. But the blind rivets, they pulled about halfway, almost halfway into one or two of the holes, and so it wasn't bad enough that I think that I need to replace them, but it was something to look at. And you might think of maybe putting a washer, a thin washer or something on the back side of those nylon plates, just something for that blind rivet to really grab a hold of. But overall, it wasn't too terrible. They both installed just fine, and like I said, they're not a stress point, I don't believe, so I don't really have an issue with how they set in there, especially since I think it was just one, maybe two of them that really pulled more than I would have liked. But otherwise, they go in fairly quickly and fairly simple. But like I said, all of those clecos that I have in there in the skins right now, that's as far as you want to rivet until you get that bottom piece, in the aft bottom piece, put in place. So other than that, some of the other issues that I came across while I was doing this is, like I said, I over exaggerated my brakes on the skins where they match up and they line up, and I think that really turned out well. As I said in the previous video, I have the rollers that kind of crease the edge of the skin a little bit, but they didn't break it enough for my taste. It still left a bit of an edge, and in places it still pillowed. The skin's pillowed when I riveted. So I take that flat tool that I have and just really bend and kind of over exaggerate slightly the break on them, on the skins. And once I rivet it in, they really sit down flush, and it turned out really nice. So that's, you know, one thing you want to consider, especially when you're putting the tail cone skins together. The other places I had worked on that is the leading edges of the elevator and the rudders. And the elevators I'm not too happy with as far as how the skins look. Some of them did pillow, and I'm kind of thinking I might drill a couple extra holes and put in some more blind rivets into the leading edges of the elevators just to get them to sit a little more flush. We'll see. But the skin on the tail cone turned out really well, I think. Now I'm working on the wiring harness, trying to get it put in position. As I said, it goes up the J stiffener on the left side there, along the side channel, and then goes down the left side of that forward bulkhead, near where I'm at right there, to the center channel along the bottom of the tail cone. Half of the wire harness goes up the left side, and then there's 2 wires that go up the right side, and you put them in a whole bunch of tie wraps. Now when you put the tie wraps in, the instructions, especially on that center channel where I'm at right now, you don't want to tighten those up. You just want to connect the tie wraps so it just clicks once or twice just to hold it in place, because you're going to put more wires in through those tie wraps later on, and the instructions tell you that. And even along the frame, I would recommend just holding off on trying to tighten down any of those tie wraps as you're going, just in case you need to adjust something, or if you need to move it, it's a lot easier. Otherwise you just have to cut it and put in a new one later. But the tie wraps are nothing special. They're your standard 4-inch tie wraps that you can get at any store, Ace Hardware or whatever. But anyway, so now I'm working on the aft deck. This is the round piece that'll make up where the skins end, and then there's a flat piece that connects behind that, and this rounded piece will mount to. In fact, I think I just got it here in my hand now. That's the aft deck there. So that's going to go over those last 2 bulkheads there on the tail section, and that's going to be where the other connector, the smaller connector for the wiring harness, will attach into that point there. And then there's a couple wires that will come up through there as well. But just going through, doing all the normal prep stuff, deburring everything, getting the lightning holes and everything deburred. But the instructions point out that you definitely want to at least put primer on these pieces here. Most of the other stuff it talks to, it tells you, hey, if you want to, go ahead, do it now. If not, whatever. But this one, it actually points out you really need to put primer on these, because these will be exposed to the outside conditions and whatnot. So anyway, that's the gist of this video here. As I've said before, those that continue to watch, I appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. And if you get a chance, hit that like button for me. I'm going to go ahead and let this video run out, and I'll see if I can't get the next video put together. We'll see you next time.